It's kind of interesting how all of this news kind of comes together, because we had ourselves today the announcement that NHL players will be going to the Olympics in 2022 in Beijing. Great. We had ourselves also the announcement that the Ottawa Senators have signed forward Drake Batherson. He is, at the time of recording this piece of audio, the highest paid forward on the team because his cap hit is just under $5 million for the next 6 years. But what do I mean when I say that these pieces of news kind of correlate into another story that is somewhat alarming, I guess you would say? Well, guess what? When it comes to Team USA going out there in the Olympics, you have yourselves Jack Eichel, who's probably going to be a guy. He's kind of upset with the way that his team has been dealing with him right now, and guess what? Turns out there's another player out there who is a young NHL star who is also probably going to suit up for Team America at the Olympics, who is also somewhat frustrated with their hockey team. And relating to Drake Batherson, this guy here plays for the Ottawa Senators. Let's talk today about Brady Tkachuk and the word that we received from Shawn Simpson from TSN here on Twitter. Now, full disclosure, because I know somebody's going to go out there and ask about this in the comments, this is a rumor. It's somewhat of a smokescreen, you could say. This might be a negotiation tactic. Who really knows? But based off of what we're seeing here on social media, this appears to be the status quo, and whether or not that has any real implications as to how things are actually going, I'm not too sure. But based off of Simpson's word over here on Twitter, he says that frustration has set in with the Tkachuk camp. Brady is trying to stay positive, but he doesn't understand why these negotiations are taking so long. I asked what has been offered, and it was termed that they have not received a legitimate offer from the Ottawa Senators. So this is Simpson going out there talking most likely to the Brady Tkachuk camp and asking him, hey, what's the status going on about Brady Tkachuk and his contract negotiations with the Senators? Because if you take a look at it right here, Brady Tkachuk, we all kind of know who this guy is. Young star, 6'4", 212, a power forward in the blood right here. 21 years old, he's a young guy, and he also is an RFA. He scored himself 36 points in 56 games played last season after having two very similar years in his first and second go-arounds in the NHL. He had 45 and 44 points, both in 71 games played, and he maxed out at 23 assists. Now, this most recent season, I get it, 36 points, 56 games played, not really the same point production right there. If you do the math, though, 36 divided by 56 multiplied out by 82, hey, he would have been on pace for 53 points. Definitely not bad, especially since he led the team in scoring. The Sens are kind of Brady's team right here, and the way things are going to go down, it's likely that he'll be a prime candidate, if not the absolute guy who is going to be the next captain of the Senators, if you don't want to think about Thomas Chabot, because he's kind of a guy in that conversation as well. But because Tkachuk does indeed need a new contract, there is a little bit of instability as to where you go with this. We know that the Ottawa Senators don't really like going out there and paying their guys. It's why it's a really big deal when you get guys like Thomas Chabot getting the payday at $8 million. You also have Matt Murray, who was traded over to the Sens. He's making $6.25. And if you want to go just based off of the forwards, hey, it's Batherson, 4.9. He is the most expensive guy here. Colin White is followed after with 4.7. Brady Tkachuk is pretty much the guy on this team, and he will most likely be in a position where if he gets a lot more money than Batherson and White, nobody will be surprised. And so that's why, to me, it's super interesting to hear from the Brady Tkachuk camp that there hasn't been a legitimate offer from the Senators this far into the offseason. I get it. The season doesn't start till October. We have a lot of time to negotiate things over here. But if Brady Tkachuk is going out there saying, man, why is it taking so long? He's trying to stay positive, but there's frustration that is set in with the camp here. It really starts to get you wondering what's going on here. In fact, we had ourselves Pierre Dorian, who was asked about Brady Tkachuk and the contract talks. All he would say is that we have had productive discussions. He reiterated his preference for not negotiating in the media. So with the GM saying his piece and the Tkachuk party also getting their word out there as well in the form of TSN's Shawn Simpson on Twitter, it kind of gets my spidey sense going off a little bit, you know? Like, I kind of feel a little bit more alert in trying to analyze what's going on here because the GM said himself, hey, we don't like to negotiate in the media. But that's kind of exactly what Simpson is doing here with his tweet. Furthermore, we had ourselves a reply that Simpson actually agreed with. We have to remember that Brady Tkachuk's dad, Keith Tkachuk, always played hardball at contract time, and so did Brady's brother, Matthew Tkachuk, for the Flames. Sometimes it's not always the fault of the team, although the Senators don't really have a good track record of this. What is a fair offer in their minds? Shawn says, I totally agree, and I said that. This is all from the Tkachuk perspective, wherein they're saying that they're frustrated and they don't really have a legit offer from Ottawa. And so when you think about it like that, I mean, Matthew Tkachuk is making $7 million till the end of 2022. He does need another contract extension as well, because back when he was an RFA in 2018-19, he signed a $7 million by 3-year deal for a total of $21 million. It was a short bridge deal. He really proved himself in that bridge deal. And now Brady's in a position where, I mean, you gotta look at the comparables right here. Matthew Tkachuk had himself a 77-point year right before he signed his 3-year, $7 million AAV contract. Brady Tkachuk has not had the same amount of success in terms of point production, but you also have to take a look at the other factors like, okay, they're playing on different teams, they have different line mates. Ottawa's in a completely different stage of their hockey cycle compared to the Calgary Flames, and you still have to think about it like, well, Matthew Tkachuk was on the Flames when the Flames were pretty much run by Gaudreau, Monahan, and Giordano. For Ottawa, Brady is the guy over here. I guess Tim Stützle would also be in that conversation as well, but he only played 1 year in the National Hockey League so far. Either way, though, different circumstances, so not necessarily translating to the same amount of money for sure, but if this is indeed a similar kind of territory that we saw Matthew Tkachuk go through with a few years ago, maybe a push by the media is all they need to really go out there and get these contract negotiations done. Because, look, this is kind of how I'm feeling about it, but with Chabot and the extension that he had a few months ago, with Matt Murray being acquired by the Senators, with these new contracts being handed out to Batherson, a 4th-round pick, $5 million, and Colin White as well, I feel like the Senators are kind of approaching that territory where all of a sudden they don't really need to pinch pennies anymore, you know? Like for a good chunk of their late 2010s, the Ottawa Senators were at a spot where we didn't really know if they were willing to go that step to really throw the bag to the wall and just say, okay, you're our good player right here, you're a franchise guy, an elite guy, how much do you want? The entire Erik Karlsson negotiation went on over there, and it didn't work, which is why he was traded to San Jose. Mark Stone also in a similar situation. He needs a new contract, and all of a sudden it's the Vegas Golden Knights that are going to go out there and give it to him because the Sens don't want to do that. It's been a few years where the Sens have really strayed away from breaking the bank. And with Chabot, with White, with Batherson, all this stuff we'd spoken about, maybe that's starting to come to a change. Who knows? By the time Tim Stützle needs his next contract in 2 or 3 years or whatever, maybe he's going to demand a boatload of money, and maybe that's going to be the turning point, I guess. Because the Sens, I've said this for a long time, they do have a lot of good young pieces and players that I think are going to have good NHL futures, especially on that blue line with Sanderson, with Bernard Docker, with Chabot. They have so many good players over here, and you might not even see Erik Brannstrom on this team either because, man, the way they're treating that guy in their system, yeah. That kind of feels like a mistake, but I'm going to stay out of that because we're talking about Brady in this video. So talk to me in the comments, what do you think about the Brady Tkachuk contract negotiations and how apparently the Sens haven't given a legit offer to Brady and his party. So much to the point that the Tkachuk party's starting to feel a little bit frustrated with this, Brady trying to stay positive, but he's wondering, hey, why is it taking so long? Why am I not signed yet? Why have we not done this negotiation yet? Even though Pierre Dorian came onto the radio today and said, yeah, we're progressing very well, but I don't want to negotiate through the media. I said it before, I'll say it again, this kind of makes my spidey sense go off, but it's not really like, I'm panicking about the situation. I don't think there's going to be any big calamity coming out of this. It's just, something to keep on your toes about now that we've heard about it in the media, despite the fact that the GM said he doesn't want to negotiate in the media. That's kind of de facto what Simpson is doing by posting a tweet like this. Either way, though, talk to me in the comments. What do you think about the Tkachuk negotiations? Do you think he gets a bridge deal like his brother Matthew? Matthew got a $7 million AAV deal for 3 seasons long. Is Brady going to get anywhere near that amount? He hasn't been as productive in terms of the on-ice points, but you could debate that his leadership and the impact that he has to the team is at the same level, if not more, than Matthew to the Flames. Do you think they go long with Brady Tkachuk? Do they hamper down and say, okay, we gave Thomas Chabot the 8x8, let's go out there and we'll give Brady Tkachuk an, 8x7.5 or whatever it is. You want to fill in the blank with your own numbers. Talk to me in the comments. What do you think about the Tkachuk negotiation? Hope you enjoyed this video. Josh Wilson 99. And bye.